Hello, my dear children. Your exams are coming so close, I know. So today, we will quickly revise a very interesting chapter. It's a powerful story of survival and change, so chalo, let's dive right in.
You know, maybe when you're traveling with your family, you've seen people like this, moving with huge herds of sheep or goats, maybe even camels. Have you ever wondered, who are they? Where are they going with all those animals? Well, today we're going to find out all about their world.
Okay, so first things first. To understand these amazing people, we need to understand their way of life, which has a special name, pastoralism.
So, who are these pastoral nomads? It's simple, really. They are people who don't live in just one place. They move around with their animals because that's how they earn their living. But listen, this movement is not just random wandering around. Oh no, it's a very smart way of life. You see, their movement is a super clever cycle, and it's perfectly in tune with the seasons. Think of it like your summer and winter holidays, Beta. They move to the best places for their animals depending on the weather. When it's snowy up in the high mountains, they come down. When summer comes and the mountains have fresh green grass, they go back up. It's a life lived in perfect rhythm with nature.
Now let's go on a quick tour of our own country, India, to meet some of these amazing communities. We'll travel all the way from the snowy mountains to the hot deserts. First stop, Jammu and Kashmir. Here we meet the Gujjar Bakarwals. In the winter, they live in the lower Siwalik Hills. But as soon as April arrives, they start their long journey up into the high mountains to these beautiful green meadows called Bakarwals. Then, by September, when it starts getting cold again, they pack up and start their journey back down. What a life, isn't it?
Now let's go somewhere completely different, the Thar Desert in Rajasthan. Here live the Raikas. They are so clever. They do a bit of farming and also herd animals. When the monsoon rains come, they stay in their villages and grow crops. But by October, everything becomes dry, so they have to move out to find food and water for their herds.
And it's not just in the north. This map really shows you the whole picture. We have pastoral communities all over India. The Dongars in Maharashtra, the Golas and Kurumas in the south, and each one has its own special rhythm, perfectly suited to where they live.
For hundreds and hundreds of years, this was their world. A world without fences, a world of free movement. But then, a huge change was coming. A change that was going to put up walls and turn their entire world upside down.
And what was that big disruption? It was colonial rule. The British coming to India was a massive turning point for these pastoralists. And well, it was mostly not for the better.
So, why did the British want to change everything? You know, it was all about how they saw the world. They wanted land that gave them money, what they called revenue, and they got that from settled farming. They also wanted valuable things like cotton and timber, and they wanted to control people easily. For them, these moving nomads were a problem. They saw their grazing lands as wasteland because it wasn't earning them any tax money.
So, to get what they wanted, the colonial government made a whole bunch of new laws. And for the pastoralists, these new laws meant that their big open world started to get smaller and smaller.
Here are the 4 big ones you need to remember. First, the wasteland rules, which took away their grazing lands and gave it to farmers. Second, the Forest Acts, which basically locked up the forests. Third, the shocking Criminal Tribes Act, which labeled entire communities as criminals. And finally, a grazing tax. They even had to pay a tax on every single animal they own.
Okay, exam time. This is a very important question. It comes up a lot. Ready? Explain how the Forest Acts changed the lives of pastoralists. Just think about it for a moment. What would you write?
Here is how you can write a perfect answer. Point 1. The Forest Acts divided forests into reserved and protected. Pastoralists were just banned from entering the reserved forests, and these were the best forests with the best grass, so they lost huge areas of grazing land. Point 2. Even in the protected forests, their movements were controlled. They needed a permit, and the permit would say exactly when they could enter and when they had to leave. Can you imagine having to leave a place with lots of food for your animals just because a piece of paper says your time is up? It totally ruined their traditional way of life.
So, life became really hard. But do you think these communities just gave up? No way. Their story is actually one of amazing strength and clever adaptation. Let's see how.
So how did they deal with this shrinking world? They were very smart about it. Some of them reduced the number of animals they had, so they needed less pasture. Others found completely new routes to travel. For example, when the Raikas in Rajasthan couldn't go to Sindh anymore after partition, they found new paths into Haryana. And over time, things changed. Some who were richer bought land and settled down, while many others had to find new jobs, maybe as laborers on farms.
Now, it's really important to remember, this wasn't just happening in India. A very similar story was playing out thousands of miles away, in Africa.
So let's travel all the way to Africa, which is home to more than half of all the pastoralists in the world. We'll talk about a very famous community, the Maasai. And if you look at the maps, you'll see it's the same story. Their world, just like in India, was being completely changed by European colonial rulers.
And the result was just, wow. The Maasai lost about 60% of the land they used to have. Their best grazing lands, the greenest pastures, were taken away to create settlements for white people, or turned into huge game reserves. You might have heard of them, the Maasai Mara, the Serengeti National Park. But the Maasai themselves were banned from entering.
And the result of being trapped in small areas was tragic. When a terrible drought hit in the 1930s, the Maasai couldn't move their herds to find grass and water. And because of that, over half of their cattle died. Just imagine that. More than 50% gone.
The colonial rulers didn't just take their land, They also changed their society. Traditionally, power was shared between elders and warriors. The British just appointed their own chiefs and gave them special powers. This created a new gap between the rich and the poor within the Maasai community itself.
So, what about today? Well, the journey for pastoralists is not over. They are not people from the past. They are part of our modern world. I mean, look at this picture. A shepherd guiding his herd on a busy highway. The challenges are different now. It's not colonial laws, but maybe traffic. But that timeless journey of adapting and surviving continues.
So you see, Bedata, being a pastoralist isn't some old, backward thing. It's a really smart and eco-friendly way to live, especially in tough places like mountains or deserts. And this brings us to a big question for all of us today. How can we make sure these amazing, resilient communities are a part of our future, and not just something we read about in our history books? It's something to think about, isn't it? Okay, that's it for today's revision. Study well, my children, and all the very best for your exams.